Hamptonio. To manipulate consciousness is to manipulate power, and to manipulate power is to manipulate possibilities, and to manipulate possibilities is to manipulate consciousness as well. Welcome to the show. You listen to 360 Info. We got a great show for you today. The weather has been pretty decent. We'll take it. We will take this weather. It's up and down, and look like I just looked into the forecast, Vince, for the next 2 weeks, and we're going to be stay around that 30, mid 30s to 40s type of range. And guess what? I would take that all the way for real. We got a great show for you today. And in the remote studio, we got our good brother Vince. What's going on, brother Vince?
Well, yeah, we're getting a respite. Supposed to rain tomorrow. Hopefully, it will wind down before the evening comes because we're going to be jamming over at Rudy's Pub tomorrow evening at 6 o'clock. I think the rain clouds are going to disappear. The sun's going to come out, and we're going to have a funky good time. A lot of stuff going on in Cleveland this past week. We've had the Smithsonian folks here. Last night, I witnessed quite a movie, a film that was screened over at the health campus of Case Western Reserve University. It was all about Black folk and how they see God and all the different lanes that we travel in. Quite interesting, and look forward to having some dialogue about that. But today, we're going to be talking about food, and we have two very industrious people. They took it upon themselves to take responsibility for feeding people in Cleveland, and we want folks to know who they are and what they are doing. So I contacted Miss Mikki Smith, who is the executive director of the Little Africa Food Cooperative, and also Telia Badu, who is with her Bundle of Joy. She is the founder of the Little Africa Food Co-op. So we're going to find out how that organization actually came into existence. We're also going to talk about the things that they are doing in Cleveland to make a difference. So with that, I'd like to welcome to 360 Info Network, Telia Badu, founder of Little Africa Food Cooperative, and Ms. Mikki Smith, the executive director of the Little Africa Food Co-op. Welcome to 360 Info Network.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Really, really happy to have you. And I'm so excited to talk to this young lady who is nursing her young son. That is one of the most beautiful things that can happen in life, to bring life into the world. And of course, to sustain life, we have to eat good, nutritious food. So, Tila, if you don't mind, give us the little background, or not the little, but give us the background on the Little Africa Food Co-op, and then we'll dive into the issues that are facing the city of Cleveland and the greater community here in Cuyahoga County.
Sure. So, Little Africa Food Co-op was founded in 2016. It was behind the murder of Philando Castile. He just so happened to be a chef. How we do as Black people, we get mad when the police kill one of us, and but nothing never happens outside of us getting mad. A Facebook post was posted: "Is y'all mad? Y'all gonna do something about it?" I came up with this bright idea: let's open up a grocery store, because I feel like the government is killing us every day through food. We have little ownership as Black people in the food space, and that's from farming to the table. I came up with this idea: let's open up a grocery store. We met probably like one of the hottest days of the year on 93rd in front of the Faith Community Bank, and we raised that day $1,400. Miss Mikki met me out there. She's my Facebook friend. She now has been my lifelong friend and business partner over the past 8 years now. And that's how the grocery store started. We went from a grocery store to a cooperative, which is something beautiful, doing something cooperatively, but that's something we're still trying to maneuver as Black people, doing stuff really together and what that looks like. It's a membership owned grocery store, so it's owned by the community. It's owned by the people of the community. owning a grocery store. So that means you have a say-so, just not a buy-in of what you want that grocery store to look like. And we've been rocking and rolling ever since. We are a two-tier organization, a for-profit, which is the cooperative, and a non-profit, which is the collaborative, which is kind of Mickey is over that portion of it. But yeah, she could tell you about that.
Yeah, Ms. Mickey, I'd like to get your version of what happened. I've heard it on another broadcast, but I think it would be great if you could share with our listening and viewing audience how you became connected with the Little Africa Food Co-op.
Hey everybody again. There was a Facebook post out there, and what are you gonna do about it? So Tila, she's my Facebook friend, and she was like, hey, here it is, a chef that got murdered, and what it is we gonna do about it. I'm thinking about us doing something. What about us opening up our own grocery store? So I'm always for the fight, power to the people, right? So I go on, she was like, let's meet up. I said, where we meeting up at? She like, let's meet up at, Faith Community Credit Union right on 93rd. It was hot. It was very hot. And we met up there. We also met up there with Marcus Greenwood, who is another part of a co-founder. He was there from the inception. But we met up there. We raised $1,400. And from there, we had created an opportunity at one of the local libraries for everyone to come voice their opinions on what they would like to see. The community came, they showed up, and they showed out. And from there, we began to start strategizing on exactly what this would look like, what we need to do, and how can we make it happen. And since then, again, like Tila spoke, she said we have a two-tier. We have the cooperative, which is our our for-profit, and then we have the collaborative, which is our nonprofit. I'm the executive director for the collaborative, which is the nonprofit. And in the nonprofit, that is where we do a lot of our programming. Our nonprofit help infuse the cooperative so the cooperative can become inception. So I do a lot of the community programming, a lot of the activism, and a lot of the work.
Could you talk about some of the programs that you mentioned?
Sure. We currently have our growing program. Our growing program, it starts April and it ends in October. And we have a collaborating partner, which is Village Family Farms. It's off of 1662 Crawford Road. That's in the Huff community, Ward 7. We work with Jamel Rakura. We've been working with Jamel Rakura for the last 6 years, growing food over there. So every Sunday from 8 to 12, from April to May, and then from 10 to 12 from April to May, and then from 8 to 12 from June up into October. Anyone is welcome. There is a small cost to come out and grow with us, but we teach you all of the ways in which you can grow food in your space at home, and also if you have land. We teach you how to grow your food. We teach you all the proper nutrition, and we show you what all the tools that it takes in order to grow your food. We have our appliance program. Our appliance program was actually infused by the emergency response during COVID, where we seen an influx of individuals who did not have gas. They didn't have gas stoves. So what we did was we created an opportunity to give people appliances such as electric skillets, crock pots, in order for them to be able to cook. We realized in our communities, we have an influx of individuals who really don't have gas, but they want to cook. So we created recipes. We cut up all of the vegetables for our seniors. We had care packages that we delivered to them. And those are the two our standalone programs that we currently have that we are moving to push throughout 2024.
Okay. Could you talk a little bit about how the cooperative has evolved? Because I know initially you had a specific vision for it, and as time has progressed, you've made some changes to the original structure, and now you may be doing things a little bit differently. And Telia, you can address this if you like.
Sure, I can. It's kind of been a whole lot of back and forth over the 8 years, of course. So we wanted this big idea of a cooperative model grocery store, and it's kind of just scaled down a little bit to a smaller grocery store, still Black-owned products. So that's what we've been working on, is Black-owned suppliers, because that's how we wanted to look. We wanted to look like, how grocery stores originally started off, mom and pop shops. You come in there and you have your basic needs, groceries, your apples, oranges, onions, your spices, your milks, your cheese, and dairy. And so it's still kind of the same thing, just a little smaller, because we realized that we had this big idea, but that can't happen as soon as we want it to happen. So just kind of like scaling it back and then going from small to big.
Okay. Mikki, did you want to reply to that?
No, I just would like to say that when we think of our communities, a cooperative model, most of the cooperatives are, they utilize their own funds. Again, our communities, we don't own a lot of things. We don't know what ownership is. So our goal is to meet our people where they at. So smaller is better. Yes, we may have the vision for this giant Little Africa food chain that is in every urban city, every urban community. But the truth of the matter is that we need the manpower, and we need our community to be behind us in every step of the way. So in order for us to get to that great grand scale of the urban cooperatives, Little Africa, and all of the small cities, we have to first start small, and then utilize the resources that we have. And again, it takes a community in order for us to be able to do what it is that we desire to do.
One of the things that I'm seeing, Mikki and Telia, is that there is a real challenge in waking folks up to the value of food that is grown locally. We're so used to going to, Giant Eagle and Dave's and some of the other supermarkets out there where they are bringing in produce that comes from other parts of the country and other parts of the world. But one thing that we are becoming more cognizant of is the fact that food that is locally grown has more nutrients that are available to you and more pertinent to you. Could you talk a little bit about the challenge of educating our public, and specifically the Black community, on the value of locally grown food?
I can, real quick. I like how you said that, because when I think about if I could equate it to breastfeeding, right, versus having an outsource of maybe a cow milk or a soy milk, because your baby produces the milk that's nutritional for him or her, right? And the same thing how we're born in Ohio. So it's a lot of foods that are for us, you know what I'm saying? And so which helps fight allergies and things of that nature, that we're combating. But we have foods that's outsourced from states and countries that don't apply to our bodies, you know what I'm saying? So trying to educate people on nutrition is a real challenge, because it's not attractive. And so one thing that Little Africa pride ourselves on that we do that's very different is that we actually feed people, because one thing I've learned is that people listen to you more when you feed them good food. You know what I'm saying? They have a what's the word I'm looking for? Like you get their attention more when you're feeding them. You know what I'm saying? They're more like to listen to what you're saying and what's coming out your mouth, and it's more attractive when I say, "Hey, I got this plate over here." You know what I'm saying? Or I can show you how to grow this fruit and grow these vegetables, and then you can taste it and see how it tastes. Mikki made this great hot sauce from these peppers that's in our farm. And so you get their attention more, it looks more attractive. But it is challenging because nutrition doesn't sound like nothing fun. Growing in no farm, you know, don't sound like fun, you know what I'm saying? And so our people are all about like the kick it and the party and the fun. But if I make it look fun, if I make it attractive, you know, then they're more likely to listen and take heed. But it is a real challenge, especially for younger people. You know, it's less than, when we first started this 8 years ago, it was less than 1% of Black farmers in the United States. Since COVID, it's a little bit more, not too much, maybe like a 2%. But more and more people are starting to grow and starting to take ownership and feeding themselves. And that's really what we try to do, is educate people on taking ownership, because you know, now you know what your food, what you're putting into your soil. Even if you do, you know, meats, now you know where the meats is coming from versus it being 5 different cows. Hey, let's buy this one cow. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it's been a challenge, but you know, we just got to keep pushing forward and keep educating them, you know, and just coming up with creative ways to educate our people about how to grow and how to eat healthy and how to prepare healthy meals. You know, what does a healthy meal really look like? And it can still have spices and it can still taste good and, you know, be good to the palate. But just being creative, that's really what, you know, how to curb those challenges, is being creative in our education.
Well, you know, most of the food that we're eating, and I don't have statistical evidence to back up what I'm saying, but in a general sense, a lot of the food that we eat is processed and prepackaged and so forth, and it's actually engineered for taste and not nutrition. And when people make a paradigm shift from the process to the real, their palates change, and then they say, "Oh, wow, this tastes so good," because they're getting natural flavor and not the artificial flavor. So I can appreciate what you're saying about the pushback that folks have when you talk about changing the way they eat. Mickey, you talked about one of the programs that you have being a growing program. Can you talk about the enthusiasm or the buy-in that you're getting from folks who get an opportunity to actually grow food and taste it, and how things change from them after they learn the skill set?
Absolutely. We've been doing a growing program for the last 3 years, and it started off, slim. But what we found is that our people, they have a desire now to live long. They have a desire to be healthy, and with being healthy comes with great nutrition. So on Sundays, it gives us great conversation. We found that when we're in the farm, we have the ability to really connect with the earth, with the land, and with the people. So not only is it good out there on the Sundays with growing our food, but it's also good to connect with the people. We find out more what's going on inside of the homes of the people, so how we can help them with the proper diet, with the proper nutrition. So like Tila said, my kicking it would make hot sauce. I don't eat hot sauce, but I know a lot of people do eat hot sauce. And it just came out of, I grow great peppers, and the love that you have for yourself is the same love that you go into growing the food. You know, our farm has been in abundance, especially for the last 5 to 6 years, because we're out there all the time. We out there talking to the plants. We out there talking to the trees. We out there fellowshipping. We in there. We got our hands in the soil. You don't call it dirt, you call it soil. So we got our hands in the soil, and we're giving back to the nature. And when the universe feels that, it gives and it provides us the necessary abundance in order for us to live. And again, when I talk about the nutrition and I talk about us out there, we do a pop-up. I may bring something so I could cook something real quick while we're out there. But it gives us the opportunity to really delve into the opportunities that present themselves right on the farm. So we can take we can take an eggplant, we could take squash, we could take zucchini, and we can cut it up right there and we can cook it. You know, our watermelons, we have the watermelons that has the seeds in it. We have done a reversing diabetes program where we done taught people how to reverse their diabetes. Again, it's all about healthy living, healthy food, healthy nutrition, and the growing program, it does just that. It takes you from this to that. And we monitor our people. We monitor, you know, the food, their intake. Don't bring no Takis out there. You better bring a piece of fruit, you know, pick up some fruit, pick up some vegetables, some herbs. You know, we have fresh teas out there. We got we got all types of things. We got sage, right? We burn sage. We have, you name it, we have the herbs that's out there. And in order for us to be healthy, and in order for us to streamline the issues that plague our urban communities, we grow the herbs and we grow the foods that's for this particular region.
Well, Mickey, you got my attention when you said that you're growing seeded watermelons, because, you know, most of the watermelons that are sold in the supermarkets in Cleveland are seedless, and people kind of default to them not knowing the value in the seeded watermelon. Your colleague here, Hamptonio, among other things, is a comedian, and this is a little bit off topic, but I watch your Facebook posts and I see the one-liners that you post. It seems like you have reincarnated Henny Youngman. If you know, do you know who Henny Youngman is?
I do not.
Oh, you're kind of young, so you probably wouldn't know. But he was like the king of one-liners. But you know, you mentioned the value of connecting with the soil, and that is a direct relation to connection with nature. And one of the things that our brother Hamptonio talks about a lot is our connection with nature. So I want to have Hamptonio chime in and talk about what you see as the value of this as it connects folks to nature.
Absolutely, man. It's that's what it's all about. It's our relationship. You know, our ancestors, you know, understood that. You know, I think where this culture and this society went wrong, the Bible's interpretation steered them wrong. When they read that God say gave man dominion, you know, that means that since to them is that interpretation is like we the highest on the food chain and we can do anything that we want to do with everything else. For our ancestors understood that man needs to live in harmony with the animal kingdom and the plant kingdom. It's a cycle, it's a relationship, you know. And by you and I let me step back. Melodona Soma, I went to a workshop with him. If people don't know Melodona Soma, he wrote Of Water of Spirit, I believe the book was called. And he talked about the importance of going out in nature and placing your hand on the soil, on the ground, and even asking for forgiveness and things of that nature. So that's a connection, because the earth itself is a living organism itself, and it gives off the energy and that relationship to life itself. And some of our African brothers and sisters say God, nature is God itself. You know, that's God manifested itself through nature and through us. So that connection, that going back to the soil and us relating and even growing, because there's energy in the soil, and there's life in the soil, because you can't produce something that is living from something that is dead. So there's energy and life is in the soil. That's right now, you know, we used to talk about in the wintertime what type of foods we need to be eating when it's wintertime up in this particular hemisphere and region. You get to eat the eat the foods that deal with root, you know, turnips and things that the energy is at the base of the plant. Of course, now summertime, you know, now the energy is in the leaves of the planet or in this hemisphere. So you eat those particular things. So it's all about energy and to the transformation of energy. And to speak on, you know, as far as our people real quick, you know, that's why we have to educate and get and have more sources and resources of getting the information out there. I think what would be helpful too, if we did more seminars of people really understanding and seeing how their food is produced. and where you know what I'm saying, and where and how this system is processing the food and the things that are going into the food that you eat, maybe people would be a little bit more receptive to saying, hey, I need to do something about this. Because look at the hospitals all around. You know, every hospital that we know of is growing, is building wings, rehabbing a new facelift and renovation, because they're having and expecting future sick people. You know, so look at the young folks. We have more young folks coming down more and more with illnesses they shouldn't even have, really, but at least later on in life, but they're getting them young. So if we do more to educate and talk about this whole relationship, you know, with us, the planet, the cosmos, and the animal kingdom and plant kingdom, I think we will gradually start getting people to come together on this thing and start doing their own thing.
Yes, I fully agree. I think it's really important for us to understand that food is medicine. But the way things are twisted in this country, food is actually the drug that sends people to the hospital. And then, in order for you to get successfully healed, you have to turn to something natural versus something that's unnatural, which is not to say that allopathic medicine or practices don't have value, because when people are critically injured or they have things that are just, you know, seemingly insurmountable, you know, sometimes you have to resort to that. But in many ways, if there is a paradigm shift in your lifestyle, which incorporates more fresh food, more food that's appropriate to the season, and as Brother Hamptonio just mentioned, we should be eating food according to season. You know, a lot of times what we do is we eat the same things all year round. And in order to eat the same things all year round, we have to get it from somewhere else because it's not grown locally. And that's how we, I guess, satisfy our urge to have those kinds of foods. The other thing relates to education, because we don't get an education about nutrition in school. What we get is United States Department of Agriculture suggesting to us what we should eat, how much we should eat, how often we should eat. And a lot of these practices are the things that are injuring us. Mickey brought up the idea of if you're eating meat, to eat something that is, I'll just say, grown or harvested locally. And there's a great value in that for those who lean towards being carnivores. But one thing that I have recently discovered is that the meat that is grown that is actually best for you, i.e. grass-fed beef, 90% of it comes from other places. So and that sometimes you don't know what you're getting, but most of it is coming from outside of the United States. And then the grass-fed beef that's in America is the smallest portion of it. So even those who are attempting to be healthy by eating a quote unquote healthier meat are getting it from other countries. So I think perhaps we should shift the focus of our food to being here as opposed to coming from other places. The other thing that I wanted to mention, going back to the value of connecting with the soil, is the concept of grounding. So when you're out there gardening and you're putting your hands in the dirt and you're having that connection with nature, it can have an extremely beneficial impact on your life. So I applaud you for directing folks to make that connection with the earth. And then I'll just offer this suggestion to some folks who may not want to get into the gardening. But one thing that you can do, especially when it's warm, is go outside, take your shoes off, and put your feet on the ground. And what happens when you do that is that your body begins to shed the positive ions that cause inflammation in your body. And inflammation, of course, is the source of pain. So there are a lot of things that you can do to benefit from your connection with nature. Mickey, I want to ask you, you talked about the things that you're growing and the where that you're growing. Could you expand a little bit on what you're growing and when you're growing it, and kind of attune people to these cycles of growing that you have implemented over the years?
Oh, you really want to know what we're growing, huh?
Yeah, because I want to get some of it at some point.
So it's a list here. I'll tell you right now. This is all the things we're growing. I have to go through because it's a a wide list of things that we're growing at the farm. And when you think about the food that we're growing, again, we grow cantaloupes, we grow watermelons, we got a peach tree, we have apple trees, we have eggplants, squash, zucchinis, we have sage, we have basil, we have mint, we have chocolate mint. We grow greens, we grow collard greens, mustard green, turnip greens. We have green onions, scallions. We have peppers. We have the habanero peppers. We have the bell peppers. We have lavender. We have lavender, rosemary, pawpaw, silver queen thyme, lemon thyme, grape tomatoes, regular tomatoes, carrots, spearmint, cantaloupe, watermelon, bell peppers, ghost peppers, chive, acorn squash, basil, sativa, corn, fennel, brown, catnip, echinacea, lemon balm, peach tree, apple tree, sage, rosebud, rose bush. We have flowers, and we have flowers and wildflowers. So those are some of the things that we are growing in the farm. And I just want to why do we grow what we grow? Because we found that a lot of the food that we're growing is healthy, it's nutritious, and it provides the necessary nutrients that can grow here. There are certain things that we can grow here. As you didn't hear pineapples on my list, because pineapples is not something that we can grow here. So if you look at locally grown foods, we grow what can grow within our region. And we are in the 6th region. And the 6th region, that means we can only really grow between April and October. And we grow according to the region. So we start planning based on how long it takes for our food to grow. So in probably like May is where we start putting some of our watermelon seeds. We start putting down our squash, zucchini, our peppers. We start putting the peppers down probably, I would say, like towards the end of May. If you have any type of seeds, on the back of the seeds, it tells you when you start planting. So we really go off of what our seeds say and what region we are in. We also are connected to the Ujima Cooperative, and the Ujima Cooperative is an organization who provides heirloom seeds. And heirloom seeds are those seeds that's been throughout the centuries, like okra and things of that sort. I forgot that we grow okra also. We also grow green beans as well. And I just want you to really know and understand that a lot of the food that you're getting from the grocery stores are bioengineered, and you really have to be careful, because they can take a seed from a pepper and put it in a raspberry and create something that's totally different. So a lot of the food that you're getting is bioengineered. The reason why we got a lot of sick people is because they already know what they're putting in your food. So if they know what they're feeding you, if the FDA, the USDA, if they're giving you these guidelines and saying you need to eat this much milk, cow's milk, I don't see us feeding cows, right? I don't see us women feeding cows. We are the only species, which is the human species, that's eating other animals' milk, right? We are supposed to eat from ourselves. The reason why a lot of individuals are sick is because they're eating of other animals, especially cow's milk. That's the reason why people are lactose intolerant, because we don't supposed to be drinking that. So if you look at why we're sick, is because the way in which they are infusing, they make the laws, right? So they also, because they make the laws, and they know how we are getting sick. So whenever we go natural, they start banning certain herbs, certain things, because they see that we have the formula. And remember, you are to eat of the earth. It's free, right? If you look at all the trees that's out here, we look at the dandelions. The dandelions just don't pop up and be in your grass for nothing. You can eat those dandelions, but we have been so accustomed to trying to keep a good lawn. Oh, my grass is so green and so beautiful. No, anything that's green, you are supposed to be living off this earth, and we don't do enough of that. So we want to get back to that, and we want to really own in on the importance of eating of the earth. These trees, the berries, the wild berries, the blackberries, the blueberries, they're growing for a reason. Is because that is nature's way of feeding us.
Let me say something here. You said a mouthful there, and it kind of all comes down to this. See, this complacency that we have, we're following the wrong lead. If you just through observation, just look around you, and we talked about the hospitals, we talk about the sickness. There's several cultures around the planet that is living a long time and very agile and moving around. Look at what's happening here. Look at what's happening here in this particular country. So we're following the wrong lead. So we should be looking to do something else. That's only logical if you're thinking critically at all. The body is electrical. You can't feed the body something that is already dead. Take the time to look and see how your food is grown. I spent numerous years on the farm, raising cows, raising hogs, raising chickens. For a chicken to be full grown, for you to be ready to eat, that's over a year. That's close to a year, not 3 months. And the skin is not white. Okay. So it's almost like out of sight, out of mind. The man has lured us into a situation where we're so accustomed and we think meat just come in the packages already ready. We're not thinking about it as being grown somewhere on the farm. So we need to educate a little bit more exactly about, what you're doing right now, showing how plants are being grown, how you take care of them, and things like that. Same thing for those who may delve off into eating meat, raising, understand, look how the animals being raised and seeing how the things are being injected into them, how the owner is taking care of them, and things, all that plays a part as far as your food is concerned. So we're following the wrong lead, and that's our problem.
Yeah, I want to amplify something that Mikki mentioned, and also Telia, who is demonstrating the strength of motherhood and the value of providing milk to your child. One of the things that has affected us in such a great way is our relationship with our infants, and we sabotage the quality of their health by giving them soy-based milk and milk that has a lot of chemicals in it. But what I've understood over the years is that the value of breast milk to a child is that it enhances the antibodies, and it gives them a certain level of immunity from some of the diseases and ailments that are out there. So, Telia, I just wanted to give you an opportunity to expand on that conversation, because as we all know, infant vitality is a major issue in this city compared to many other cities. And I don't think we can talk enough about the value of feeding our children what they need to be successful in life.
Ooh, that might go into another conversation, but I could touch on it a little bit. Infant mortality in the city of Cleveland is real, and it is very high. Infant mortality in Black communities and Black homes. Breastfeeding is a huge job. It is very time consuming. And so the mother has to be in a financial situation to even do that. Because you really can't work a job and breastfeed. It's darn near impossible. Which is why a lot of modern today moms don't do it, because they don't have the luxury of breastfeeding. Because it's time consuming. Like I said, my son nurses every hour and a half to 2 hours. It's a little less. No, it's about 2 hours. Even in the middle of the night, nighttime, I think he sleeps a little bit more at night. but it's time consuming. You don't really have no time to yourself. It is a key component, even with cooking, because I have two older children and I pride myself on like cooking daily for my children. Like real food, not like processed food, but like cut up vegetables and I cook. It's very important because I call my kitchen my lab because you can heal and or kill in your kitchen. And a lot of us cook food and we don't realize that we're killing ourselves or our loved ones or our children. But that's what we're doing with processed foods, with sugars and starches. Um, but it's really based on time. And like I said, that to touch into another conversation about the man being in the household, you know what I'm saying, and having a partnership and what that looks like in a village, having a community where people can help you, you know what I'm saying, and you know, you be okay financially where you can take the time and like cook food and prep food and breastfeed because that's a lot of work. Like my grandma used to be in the kitchen all day, every day, like, but she had the luxury of doing that. And when you don't have the backing of that, then you get into the habit of buying fast food, of buying processed food, of buying soy milk, buying powdered milk because it's the convenience.
I agree.
Yeah, I hear you loud and clear, and I'm glad that you have expressed it in that way. I think one of the things that you brought up is a challenge that working mothers have, but on the other hand, you look at the value that it represents to that child. As I understand it, children that are breastfed for some reason seem to have a higher IQ or higher level of intelligence, and it just seems like a natural connection if you are giving them the optimum diet. And I think this is also the way that it ties into this idea of having nutritious food, because when you are exclusively feeding your child breast milk, they're getting the benefits of the nutrients that you get from the foods that you eat. So if you're eating quality, nutritious foods, then that's going to translate to a better quality of milk that you're providing for your child, and it's going to give them advantage in life down the road. But also, one of the things that we're dealing with is the way our lives have evolved. You know, back in the day, our grandmothers, our great grandmothers, they were at home all day, and the husband was out, you know, working the job, being the provider, and then bringing the resources home. And then the mother or the wife in the family was making the economic decisions and doing all those things to support the family. But now we've had this paradigm shift, and you know, the man many times is not in the house, or he's not even involved in the process. So that makes it even more challenging. So we got a lot of challenges that we deal with as citizens in this city and in this country, and we have to find ways to deal with it. Mikki, I want to talk to you a little bit more about this idea of harvesting food, because we can grow the food, we can harvest the food, and we can put the food out there. But one of the things that we run into, especially when we look at the growing season, is that we have all this produce and we need to store it and you know, put it in our pantry so that we have access to it down the road. So what I want to ask, is there anything built into any of your programs that deals with how to preserve food so that you can keep it around for a longer period of time?
Absolutely. We have canning. I also do canning of my peppers. We do, Tila also teaches a class on how to properly store our beans, our dry goods, our dry foods. Jamel, he also has a class on what we do with proper seeding. So, because one of the things that we found is in order for us to have fresh heirloom seeds, we have to properly seed the vegetables and seed the fruit correctly in order to store them so we can be able to plant them for the following year. So we do have canning. We do show you how certain vegetables you can freeze, you can put in the freezer, but canning, putting them in a glass seal type canning solution is often, vinegar, and, we kind of minimize the ways in which we speak on it out, because you have to come to the class to get those resources, and those classes cost. So we do that. So, but I wanted to just kind of go back to something that Tila said, because I think it's very important that while we're speaking on birthing and feeding our children proper nutrition, one thing that Tila also has done is, for the last 2 of her births, she allowed for her child to continue to feed off the placenta after the birth of the baby. So the placenta laid right next to the baby the whole time. And if you take a look at modern day society, they won't even allow the mothers to take their placenta out of the hospital. They begin to question you why you want your own placenta. The placenta has all the natural nutrients and everything that's supposed to be there for that baby. If you allow the baby to feed off that placenta, you have no idea the level of importance that it causes for that child. And if you take a look at why they want us to cut the umbilical cord, again, those are nutrients, right? The umbilical cord and all of that, all of the food, all of that blood, they're selling that, right? They're selling that. They're selling our placentas to the highest bidders. So I really wanted to just really speak to that education, because there's not too many mothers out here that's going to the depths of that aspect of it. And that's why I have so much love for her, because she not only exemplified what it is to be a mother, but even feeding her child, breastfeeding her child, taking the time to do that. And the last piece is that we are so busy trying to put our children out of our beds at 1 and 2 years old. If you look at modern day medicine and you look at why our children are wetting themselves, it's because our brains they're traveling throughout the night, right? Our brains don't sleep. So if we are putting our children in the other rooms at 1 and 2 years old, that's where the bedwetting come from. But if the child is laying next to the mother up until 7, 8 years old, we have the opportunity to spare them and to save them from what can come through their dreams. So when we think about food and we think about nutrition, it also comes to the way of us grooming and preparing our children for teenage and adulthood. So nutrition is not just the only thing that Little Africa is about. Little Africa is really about the holistic living of the everyday life of African American women, men, and youth.
I so appreciate what you just said. And I just had to get a few things in, because we are picking up extra viewers now, and I want to make sure that they get the benefit of the conversation that we're having. If you are watching us on Facebook or YouTube, I'd like to invite you to comment or ask questions if you have questions, and we can dial you into our illustrious guests. We have Ms. Mikki Smith, who is the Executive Director of the Little Africa Food Co-op, and we also have Telia Badu, who is the founder of the Little Africa Food Co-op. You can access us by going to the 360 Info Network Facebook page. You can also go to the Journey with Hamptonio, that YouTube channel. You can tune into my YouTube channel, and you can also go to my Facebook page. We really appreciate your engagement. I'd also like to ask that if you go to my YouTube channel, please like and subscribe. I'm on a mission to get to 1,000 viewers so that I can do even more in terms of the content and look at being able to monetize the content as well. It's really important for those of us who produce and create content for the benefit of the community. So I would really appreciate it if you would go to my YouTube channel, like and subscribe. We have just a few more moments in the program, at least the radio version. So I would like to have Telia or Mikki or both of you just talk a little bit about how folks can connect with you and take advantage of the great programs that you are facilitating.
I can start. You can always connect to our Facebook page, Little Africa Food Collaborative. You can also Instagram. We have Little Africa Food Cooperative on Instagram. We also have LinkedIn, Little Africa Food Collaborative page on LinkedIn. LittleAfricaFCO.com is our website. Our email is littleafricafco@gmail.com. You can always contact me, the executive director, at 216-799-9944, or you can contact Telia at 216-253-7337. We are always available for any questions or anything that you would like to know. We will be in the communities in 2024. We will have our full-fledged growing program. So please come on out, and that cooperative store will be opening very soon. Just stay tuned. And we need your help. We need volunteers. We need people out there. We're going to have our educational program that is state approved, that we're going to be teaching at the farm this year. So again, please come on out and really connect with us at Village Family Farms this summer, this growing season. And that's 1662 Crawford Road.
Okay, Brother Hamptonio, something that you wanted to mention before we conclude the radio broadcast.
Yeah, I just want to let everybody know, when we start talking about the child and how to raise them and dealing with the sinner, get a book called The Magical Child. The Magical Child. Look at that, and the author escapes me, but it's a light blue book. So if you search that on Amazon, The Magical Child. I got that from Asa Hilliard. He mentioned it, and it's very interesting how the African people in Uganda raise their children.
Okay. Yeah, when you talk about the way children are raised, it's really interesting to look at the differences in different cultures. You know, I've been getting a lot of information on how children are raised in Japan. And in Japan, there's a really high focus on education, and the parents, particularly the mother, is really involved in the child's education. It's like it's her mission to make sure that that child gets the best possible education. The children go to school, and the children actually act as janitors for the school. So they clean the school every day. This is just a part of their mindset. So when they go out into the community, because they've been doing so much work to keep things clean, they think twice about throwing something down on the ground. You know, these are things that we should be looking at in our own respective cultures.
We fall in the wrong lead. I'm telling you, that's
if
the
I
problem.
can add to that too, they also prepare their own meals as well. And that's something that we don't in our culture too. Like, our kids don't even know how to cook. They don't know how to prepare no meals, and they're doing that at like 5 years old, like making their own plates, helping like do little stuff, not like, you know, a whole lot of cooking, but they like cut up the vegetables and they make their plates like at 5 years old. So it's a lot of stuff we don't do culturally. Like we handicap our children. And that's something I pride myself on as a mother too. Like, I teach my kids early, like, how to be independent. Like, y'all gotta learn how to cook for yourself. Y'all gotta learn how to feed yourself. Y'all have to learn how to clean your own rooms, because we hinder our kids from developing. Like, they're a lot smarter than we give them credit for. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. We're going to break away for just a few moments as we wind down the radio broadcast, and we'll continue this conversation on YouTube and Facebook. We'd also like to thank our engineer, Tone Harley, for what he does to make this program work. We really appreciate him, and we appreciate you for listening. So as always, know yourself, love yourself, be yourself, make today your best day. Peace.
Peace.
All right, we have concluded the radio broadcast, and we are now streaming live to Facebook and YouTube. I'm Vince Robinson, along with Hamptonio, and we have with us Ms. Mikki Smith She is the executive director of the Little Africa Food Co-op. We also have Telia Badu, whose great vision resulted in the creation of this organization, doing great things in the community. As we were winding down the conversation on the radio broadcast, we were talking about young folks, and it's really interesting that there are young folks out there that don't know the difference between eggplant and zucchini. When we think about food, we're thinking about going to McDonald's or Wendy's or a fast food chain. And, we like the pop, we like the milkshakes, but all of these things are things that are injuring us. And I think one of the deficits is in our education system, because as we go through the education process, we don't learn about how our body works. We don't know the difference between the spleen, the liver, the kidney, what they do, so we're kept in the dark about how we function as beings on this planet. And the thing is, we are magnificently designed beings, and we have an ability to heal ourselves when we have the right stimulus. There's a saying, I think it might be in the Bible, it might be from somewhere else, but the saying is, physician, heal thyself. Well, you heal yourself because you have the proper knowledge, and we don't have the knowledge. When we look at nutrition and look at the education that physicians who treat us for all these things that happen to us, they don't have training in nutrition either. But it's such a key component of health that we have to do everything that we can to educate folks.
Let me say something.
Go ahead.
Just 1 second, Vince. It's a conspiracy. Just call it what it is. It's a conspiracy. It's purposeful and it's intentional to keep us where we at and non-educate us on everything that you just spoke on. It's purposeful. And before healing can take place, as they say in the substance abuse arena, you've got to recognize there's a problem. The problem is we're walking around, dumbfounded on exactly what's happening to you. So we're not. That's why the education and having more media sources that talk about this. You notice why they don't. You remember last week you talked about how many corporations actually own all the media avenues that we. So they got one messaging out and they continue. Some of the things that you mentioned are simple. Should be simple things that we do to talk about our bodies, to talk about the purpose of the spleen and where it's located. Most adults can't even tell you the positioning of those particular organs in the body, let alone what it needs to run optimally. So those things are purposefully kept away from. So we depend on somebody else or the system so they can get dollars. Yaki was just on. I just seen a piece this morning talking about all these medical schools, funneled through the Rockefellers. He said there's some of them in the last 20 years coming on board, but it's all connected. It's all connected to the same guy over the 1900s that said he wanted to take over the medical system and teach the doctors, how to provide medical attention. They took away all the natural healing. It's all a conspiracy. And until you recognize the system and the enemy that is in front of your face, you're going to continue. And we as a Black, let me say this and put this footnote on. We as a Black community, if we don't teach our children to fix the issues of the day, you're going to stay in this perpetual motion of ignorance. Just that simple. So since we're not producing it, we're still giving the system and the enemy our children to teach. You're going to remain in this problem right here.
Yeah, I think what we're witnessing actually is the young people taking responsibility for this. I know Mikki is probably older than she looks, because when I look at her, I think of her as a young person, and then I hear her story and realize that she's been around for a minute. But what I'm saying is young people like Mikki, young people like Telia have taken it upon themselves to be that change agent. So I fully agree with what you're saying. I mean, in a larger sense, we look at Africa. and some of the energy that's taking place on that continent right now. And you see young folks who are rising to positions of leadership and are saying that we need to do things differently, because if we keep doing things the way that we've been doing, then we're going to continue to be exploited by countries that are coming in from outside, running away with our resources, manufacturing those resources, reaping the profits, and we get so little in return for that. So yeah, young energy is so important. I'm just thinking about how you look at technology and how young folks are getting involved in technology. So we have to continue to move forward with giving that energy to young folks and allowing them to expand. Mikki, you said some really interesting things about seeds, and I want to make sure that people understand the difference between heirloom seeds and the seeds that we're getting from companies like Monsanto, which is now Bayer, and they've put their footprint all over the world because they're actually going into African countries and places like India, and they're corrupting the quality of produce in those countries with those seeds, as opposed to the ones that will allow fruit to continue and vegetables to continue to be grown. The way the seeds are engineered, the produce that is created from those seeds, not only is it more devoid of nutrition, but it also is devoid of the ability to be regrown. So can you talk about the value of seeds in that sense?
I can, but I needed to correct you that we are not change agents. We are change directors.
Okay.
Agents, they work for someone else. We directing the movement. So just wanted to make sure I put that out there.
So noted, and I appreciate the correction.
Thank you for that. But again, heirloom seeds are seeds that has been around a long time, and they're not bioengineered by someone. They're not bioengineered by an organization or someone that's trying to alter the pattern of that particular food that's growing. One of the reasons why we go to the heirloom seeds is because they haven't been altered. Right now in today's America, we have so many seeds that you may not get a lot of yield out of that. And when I say yield, I mean you may not get a good harvest. Some seeds, when you plant them, that you're getting from some of these entities, they can infect your other food. They can infect your other vegetables or your other produce that you're growing. So that's why we work with the heirloom seeds, because they are original. They have been around for years, and they are the original seeds of the earth. That's the difference.
Okay. So it's the real versus the manufactured, so to speak. I think the other thing that we probably need to touch on is genetic modification. And I think that's part of what you're talking about. But, you know, a lot of the produce that we are consuming is bioengineered, genetically modified. And as a result, it represents a danger to us. But the other thing about genetically modified produce is that research has not been done to a great extent on the effects of consuming genetically modified food. There are a lot of people who push back and they say, well, it doesn't matter whether it's organic or it's genetically modified, because the organic produce can be just as problematic. And there are things that happen in growing organic produce that may not be disclosed, that may compromise the value of the food. But I would have to imagine, and this is just me rolling the dice and thinking in my own head, that perhaps the organic is better for me than the genetically modified food. Can you talk about your growing process and whether or not what you're doing is with the intention of creating organic versus genetically modified?
If you can real quick, just even talk about that word organic, because I really don't like to use that word, because organic is like brand. It's a brand. It's trendy, right? And so we like to use the term just real foods, right? And real means like, if I grow this, it's gonna have seeds, and then I can regrow my food and it's gonna have seeds, right? and this is going to replenish the earth, and it's going to replenish me. And so I just want to make that correction. Like, we have to like just look at food like if it's real or if it's fake, and that goes back into just letting the earth do what it do. Like, we grow our food, we gonna water it. We gonna let the, sometimes they get eaten up by stuff. We gonna do the natural things that's making it not use the pesticides or the herbicides. We're gonna take some hot one year I did some hot peppers in a spray bottle and spray down my produce so that the insects wouldn't eat it, or well, not the insects, but the other groundhogs and stuff wouldn't eat it. And so, doing stuff like that, but not just taking that word organic, because that could just mean, I done found some organic fruit that still don't have no seeds in it. So I mean, it's not real.
Well, you touched on something that the question was going to sorry, Mickey. You touched on something that I was going to ask that I was going to wait till a little bit later on. I know I'm interested in it, and I just want to know, what are you guys doing as far as the animals and the deers and stuff like that for people who might want to grow in their own backyard? Because I know where I'm at, the deers is crazy. Any secrets to that?
Well, there is certain foods and certain vegetables that you can grow that will alter the deer. So there's these specific type of onions that you can plant in your garden around that will deter the deer. We don't really use any type of pesticides at all. And if you know anything about good soil and growing your food, some of these natural agents, which we call insects, they really help create the necessary soil in order for us to have good soil. And they are necessary for the livelihood of our produce. And the groundhogs, they are relentless. They love the cantaloupes. They love, oh my God, the deers. They also love our collard greens, right? So
you're responsible for the deer population there. That's why it's growing crazy.
But the thing is that they really truly love the collard greens. So what you have to do is you have to really place certain vegetables, certain herbs around that will alter them from messing with some of your stuff that you're growing. But we use a chicken wire. One of the things that we had to do this year, we had to take chicken wire and kind of go from the ground and all the way up through our hoop house, because they're really getting into a lot of the food that we are growing. And it's been a task, but we don't use any type of pesticides on our food. And if you looking at certification, organic is a different type of certification in order to grow your food. So that's the other reason why we really don't deal with the organic, because you need a specific type of certification in order to even say that your food is organic.
But the bottom line is you are incorporating measures to make sure that the quality of the food is better than it would be if it was conventionally grown and shipped in from somewhere else. I think that's a tremendous benefit. And I look forward to being able to take advantage of some of the things that you are growing, because I know in your philosophy, you want to make sure that it's quality food. So definitely commend you for that. I want to give you an opportunity just to delineate some of the programs that you're involved in for the benefit of those who were not able to join us on the radio broadcast. We have about 15 folks who are on with us right now, either on YouTube or Facebook. And so if you could just let us know the programs and how people can take advantage of those programs so that they'll get the benefit of that knowledge.
Okay. Well, and starting in April, well, you can sign up now, but in April is our growing program. And our growing program is about 40 weeks. And you have to be committed. You have to be dedicated. You have to be out there from, sometimes the weather is going to be cold a little bit. Sometimes it's going to be rainy, but it don't stop the growth of the food. So we're there. We are cultivating the land. We're cultivating the earth, and we're making sure that we're there. We got to water, right? You have to make sure that we're seeding. We got to make sure that we have the necessary temperatures to grow certain foods. So some foods we have to put in the sun. So knowing and understanding those particular foods, some of our vegetables, they grow better in the sun. Some of them grow better in the shade. So we teach you all of the aspects of how to grow your food. We also will be working with a state certified curriculum this year inside of our farm. So we're looking forward to that as well. We do have some community partners that we are working with to help with these. And as I stated, we got Ujima Cooperative that we will be working with this year. And when you talk about programming, you really need to know the right tools, right? We do not till our soil. When you start tilling the soil, you start messing up the proper nutrients and the ability to grow your food. There's measures, there's ways in which we keep the soil so it can be nice fertilized. We do a lot of composting. We have our own composting soil on our own land. We have about 2 acres that we use to grow our food. So if you want to know a little bit more about it, again, you can hit us up on Facebook, Instagram. You can send us an email at littleafricafco@gmail.com, or you can go to our website. They do have a contact link on there in order to find us, or you can contact me at 216-799-9944, and I can give you a little bit more information regarding our growing program and what we will be offering this year.
I think Brother Hamptonio might be interested in this. I know I've had my issue with groundhogs, and you mentioned what you're doing to deal with the deer. What are you doing to deal with those groundhog that have the voracious appetites that result in loss of cantaloupe?
Truthfully speaking, I wish I could. However, we been having to place chicken wire. We have to go up underneath the soil, go all the way, dig into the ground, and we have to kind of create a barrier, and we have to cover up our hoop houses this year in order. So if you are growing in planters or however you're growing, one of the best things to do is get some chicken wire and really start from the bottom of the soil so they can't plunge through and create create the fencing and creating the barrier necessary. And there's specific things that you can grow to deter them. If you need more information, I can get that information to you. But right now we're just using chicken wire and starting all the way, putting it all the way down into the soil and placing it over our hoop houses to keep them out, which we did pretty well this year.
Okay, well, congratulations on that. I live in a subdivision over here in Glenville, right on the edge of Bracknell, and I know last year the groundhogs, they were just wreaking havoc on our neighborhood. So what I did was I just started setting traps, and you can call the city of Cleveland. After you trap the groundhog, they'll actually come and remove the groundhog for you. So last year I probably trapped maybe 5 or 6 groundhogs, and hopefully that did the trick because I haven't seen them lately. But you know how it is. Spring comes and folks come out the woodwork. So
babies and everything.
But yeah, it's a real struggle.
But let me ask you a question, Mickey. So just like the stores deal with loss prevention and something, so do you grow a little extra to allow for the foods that may be eaten by the environment?
Well, depending on where, like I said, depending on where the sun, where the shade is at, we have to grow according to where we get the most yields at. So I do know, Rufus just stated nutrient dense foods. The groundhog is not attracted to. Again, they're attracted to the foods that like those collard greens that has a lot of nutrients in them. So they like those type of items, and they will eat you out of them.
They know what's healthy for them. Ain't that funny? That the groundhog do better than we do. He knows what he wants, but we still having problems with that. We gonna get the packaged stuff. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well,
there was something else I wanted to kind of elaborate too. When we think about health and we think about nutrition, I've had a friend who's been struggling with her health over the course of 10 plus years. And what she had to do was she literally had to get a hold of a butcher because she went vegan. And when she went vegan, that's not what her culture is. Her culture is they're carnivores. They like food. They like meat. So she had to go back to eating meat in order to heal herself. But then she created, then her body started creating all these allergies. So she had to go to the butcher, find out what type of seed and what type of feed that they were giving the cows. And when she found out the specific type of seeds and cows, because she was allergic to certain things, so she had to find a specific butcher that did not feed their cows certain type of seeds or feed. And that's how she ended up healing her own self, because she had to go through all of these measures. It's all about the food that is grown, and even if you are a carnivore, and even if you are eating beef, chicken, or anything like that, you really need to get down to the very level of what they're feeding these animals. So I wanted to put that out there because a lot of people really don't know that.
I'm curious, Mickey, what was the culture that she was connected with that was carnivorous, so to speak?
European.
Caucasian.
European.
Caucasian. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, her husband was her husband was Indian. So Indian foods, they are more, vegetable based and nutrient based and stuff like that. But when she found herself trying to be of his culture, it kind of messed her up the whole time. And it also messed up her baby. So we really, really need to think about our culture and how we're trying to be vegans or trying to be just vegetarians, because some of our cultures really don't allow for us to do this because of the way in which our blood types, certain blood types, you have to be careful of what you're putting in your body based on your blood types. O positive, I'm O positive. So I definitely cannot eat kidney beans, right? Kidney beans are something that I cannot eat. So I really want to just give that information out there when you start thinking about healthy ways of living and streamlining your health and what you should eat and what you shouldn't eat. There are some greens that I really should not be eating because of my blood type. So this really just goes down to knowing and understanding where you come from, who you are, and what your culture is.
Well, yeah, you have to listen to your body. I mean, and there's not a specific diet that's good for everybody. There's not a one size fits all approach to eating, just like there's not a one size fits all approach to education, because we learn differently. But there are biological differences that result in us having different diets. For instance, an Eskimo is not going to eat the same thing as someone who lives near the equator. Because of the way they have evolved over time, their bodies use different nutrients from different foods that they eat. So someone who is an Eskimo might have a greater amount of fat in their diet because of where they're getting their nutrients from. So really important to understand that. We talked about dairy and lactose intolerance. Well, someone who grows up in the Netherlands or someone who grows up in Norway, they may be physiologically different again from that person who lives in Ghana. So you're not going to eat the same kinds of things. So we really need to tune in and listen to our bodies. On a personal level, my diet changed because I listened to what my body was telling me. So when I was a student at Kent State University and I got sick because of something that I ate, I realized that, hey, this might not be for me. So as a result, I stopped eating meat. Same thing with dairy. When I made that switch and started eliminating meat and then depending on dairy for as a source of protein and a source of calcium, well, I'm lactose intolerant. So when I was eating that yogurt, I got gassed up something terribly. So something said, well, this may not be for you. So I made that paradigm switch and I got the benefit of it. So much that we need to know about in terms of what we eat and the benefit or the detriment to us. And the bottom line is we have free will and we have the ability to make choices. So it really comes down to making the choices that result in the best outcomes for us. It's really encouraging to know that you all are growing the things that you are growing. And I'm hopeful that the food that you're growing is not going to waste. I've had some conversations with other folks who are growing in our communities. And one of the things that they have expressed to me is their frustration in growing all these things, and folks don't take advantage of them and sometimes they go to waste. Have you had any issues with not being able to give out everything that you grow, Mikki?
No, that's why we create collaborations and create partnerships. We are going into a more distributive manner. So a lot of the stuff that we're growing this year will be on the website, ufc.org. We are partnering with another organization where they're going to take our foods that we grow, they're going to package it up for us, and they're going to sell it online. So look for more innovative ways in order to get our products that we're growing. For those, we have a sprout. And in that particular sprout where we have to give to the people in the community, we are just making sure that our people don't go hungry. So no, if it means we have to cut it up for our seniors or do something different, create recipes in order for it to be look a little bit more nutritious or for it to look a little more savvy, then we're doing that. But no, we haven't had any issues where we had to throw out our food because it was an abundance and did nobody want it. We just create the necessary collaborative partnerships in order for us to be able to do that on a greater scale.
Okay. Well, again, I congratulate you for the success of Little Africa Food Co-op. I'm sure that you will continue to grow and to expand. And I just have to tell you, Mikki, you have so much energy. I see the posts, I see the activities that you're involved in, and I'm thankful that you have the level of energy that you do, especially that because you're at the age that you are and you were able to defy that whole idea of aging leading to inactivity. You pushing back on that. Keep doing what you do. Brother Hamptonio, any closing ideas, thoughts, comments before we conclude the broadcast?
Yeah, I was just having a conversation about blood type with my brother, and it's amazing to know that a lot of us, as far as African Americans, do not know our blood type, and you can even go further to understand what Mikki has mentioned, that you may have that allergic response to certain foods, certain things. So knowing that information is very, very important for us to know, especially when we're talking about food and diet and things like that. So many issues that so many things that issues could be going on, and medicines that you are taking that you can get rid of just by changing their diet and knowing what you can and cannot eat due to your blood type. So that's important. That's something I think we should all check out. You're on mute, Vince.
Thank you. One last time, I'd like to encourage those of you who are watching us on Facebook and YouTube, please like, comment, and subscribe, especially on the YouTube channel. You can also go to The Journey with Hamptonio, and you can do the same thing, like, comment, and subscribe. Both of us can get the benefit of what comes along with your subscription. And also, if you hit the notification bell, you'll be able to get notice of when we do these broadcasts. If you just joined us lately, we simulcast on AM 1490 WERE at 11 a.m. every Saturday. So you can tune in by listening to the radio, but you can also see us simultaneously on Facebook and YouTube and get to see the guests that you're actually hearing on the air. So we really appreciate you tuning in, and we look forward to you joining us on the next broadcast. So as always, I'd like to thank Mikki Smith, Executive Director of Little Africa Food Co-op. Also would like to thank Telia Badu. She is the founder of the co-op. She had to go grab that bag. You know, sometimes money calls, and when it calls, you got to answer. So you get the benefit of your talent, skill, and expertise. So we definitely understand. And again, we appreciate you joining us today. We will continue to get the word out. If you're not a member of the co-op, just go ahead and log in. You can go to their website, and you can get the information that you need. I'll put it up on the screen. Mikki also gave us phone numbers and additional information so that you can send an email to them and get tuned in. But whatever you have to do, get connected, take advantage, volunteer. You know, they can always use extra help and the effort to make sure that good food gets to the folks of Cleveland and surrounding areas. So again, thank you for joining us. And as always, know yourself, love yourself, be yourself, make today your absolute best day. Peace.
Peace.
Peace and blessings.